Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another lab walkthrough video, and this lab is electroplating. You're going to be making copper plated spoons. So, as always, your background information has a bunch of relevant information. Now, in this lab, we're just going to make an electrolytic cell, but the background information also talks about the other type of electrochemical cell, the voltaic cell. So you get a good review of essentially all things redox. So you have 3 questions before you even start the lab based on information from the background information and your knowledge of chemistry, essentially asking you the differences and similarities between electrolytic and voltaic cells. Once you finish that part and you are working on the lab goggles must be on the entire time as we are working with chemicals. Okay, so once your lab goggles are on, it is time to start the lab. So at your station, you'll have a bin that looks like this. You have a battery, a bottle of copper sulfate solution, an empty beaker, a red wire, a black wire, a spoon, and some pennies. So what you're going to do first is take your empty beaker and your copper sulfate solution. It says to pour about 80 milliliters of your solution. So looking at your beaker, 80 mils, starting from the bottom, is between 60 and 100. So we're going to aim for about that line full of copper sulfate. Now the bottles do have little droppers. Ignore it, you do not need it. You will be here for 500 years if you use the dropper. So just going to pour in about 80 mils of your solution. So it is a nice blue color, which is because of the copper. Okay. Your next step is to get a penny if you don't already have one, but they should be in your little bin. And so, with your penny and your spoon, next step says clip one end of the black wire. So, black wire onto your spoon, clip it towards the bottom, that will help later on. And then the other end of the black wire to the negative part of the battery. So on your battery, you have the positive, which is this little spring, and the negative, which is this one. So you're going to connect your spoon to your negative. Then it says place the spoon and submerge it into the copper solution, just like that. Okay. Now the next part is to take one end of the red wire and clip it onto the penny, and the other end of the red wire onto your positive. Okay. And again, we're going to submerge your penny and complete the circuit. So once that's in, stuff is happening. You can look at it and get kind of closer to it. We're going to wait about 5-10 minutes and watch what happens. So right now things are happening, but you can't quite see it. You can see some bubbles. Some of those bubbles, that means something is happening. You definitely see bubbles coming off of that spoon. If you're getting a bit impatient, you can lift up your spoon and check it out. And you can see we have some color changes to our spoon. You have some of that copper on it. And at this point, again, it doesn't take very long. You can stop. So again, you have with your spoon some of the copper coloring to it. You can let it sit a few more minutes if you want. But again, whatever was submerged in that liquid now is shined with a little bit of that copper. So once you are done, we're going to clean up the lab. So cleaning up involves taking off your penny and unhooking your spoon, unhooking both of your electrodes from your battery. Everything gets put back into your bin. You can dry off your pennies if you need to. The spoon, whatever your teacher says to do with your spoon is what you should do. Battery goes back in. Your copper sulfate solution goes back in. Now all of your used copper sulfate, you may have some stuff on the bottom. That stuff is copper ions from the penny, or solid copper rather, from the penny. And so that may interrupt our next reaction. So what you can do is take your used copper sulfate, pour it through here, give a little shake, and get all of the stuff out. So then you can return your empty beaker to your bin just like you got it. That's it. Have fun copper plating. Okay, so once you've cleaned up your lab, and again, you have your checklist there, you have 5 questions based on the electrolytic cell that you have created. So if you've created the cell or just watching this video, either way, using this and your knowledge of chemistry, you will be able to answer these 5 questions. And that is your lab. Have fun.